All right. We're gonna give them a couple minutes to trickle in, and we will begin. I don't know if y'all can hear that Christmas music in the background, the nice silhouette. So let's make sure that whoever is here, share the link. Extraordinary man. There we go.
For real, bro?
So how's Junior enjoying his first official Extraordinary Man?
You
I
hear
guess
him,
he can
right?
speak, I guess he can speak for himself. All right, so I'm just doing a little bit of customary sharing to get people in.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And we're not going to delay the people. My phone is currently on Do Not Disturb. I, I know, Junior. I know. I know the pain. All right. So, first and foremost, I would like to say welcome everybody to the Extraordinary Men, episode 2, our second live stream. Let me go ahead and turn this music down in the background. So, for those who don't know, my name is Michael Jones. I am the owner of 23 Centuries Media, your source of media for today and forever. And below me is my younger brother, better known as Michael Merritt. Introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? Uh, just like on our first meeting that we had last week. Again, Michael Merritt. I am the owner of Nerdy Nerds, which is a IT contract fulfillment company. Uh, we fulfill various contracts for uh, major brands such as Portillo's, Macy's. We actually hold a contract with Chicago Blackhawks. We do all of their security cameras. We do drive-through systems and things of that nature. And we recently just got into doing fire panels for the city of Waukegan, swapping out the fire panels for different businesses around the city of Waukegan. Um, Make sure that you also uh, subscribe to our clubhouse. We do have a year's worth of content on Clubhouse that you can go back and listen to. So make sure that you gain all of that information, knowledge, and content over there. Check out my website, Nerdy Shirty, where you can showcase your inner nerd.
And for those who don't know, if you like my sweater that you see on today, this comes from a very original clothing brand called Phil Jones Clothing. Visit us at philjonesclothing.com and show your support, as well as visiting Nerdy Shirty to support King Midas, Michael Merritt, the second Nerdy Nerds brand. All right, so without further ado, as you see, we have a young prince in here. He is officially the youngest member of our organization to date. You know, he inherited his position, so he got a chance to skip the line a little bit. But today, what we decided that we wanted to do is we wanted to go into a fairly deep conversation. One of the aspects of this conversation is something that's been discussed over the internet through and through, but we wanted to expand on it based on some things that we actually have discussed amongst ourselves, and we wanted to share this conversation and actually ask for a little bit more feedback on it. So, one of those things that I'd like to know, if we want to go ahead and get started, the tiers of value when it comes down to men. One of the things about those tiers of value when it comes down to men is that men have very little issues ranking ourselves amongst one another. We don't really have this belief that we are higher than where we stand. We generally have a pretty clear cut understanding amongst one another as far as how we will rank ourselves. So when we will look at somebody who we would consider top tier of men versus somebody that we would consider people that we wouldn't want to be anything like, it's not that hard to differentiate those who do and those who don't and those who pretend. So I thought of the two most common ones as far as a high value man, low value man. That has been out forever. So I'm not going to delve too deep into those, but what we are going to do is going to break down our process of elimination when it comes down to the differences of tiers. Midas, if you want to go ahead and take over.
So the tiers that Jones has put together for us is the high value man, the man on the rise, the stagnant man, and the low value man. Did I skip a tier?
You did. Right after stagnant man, man on the decline.
Man on the decline, and then low value man. So again, as Mike said, that we can go to any podcast, bless you. We can go to any podcast, any website dealing with, men, women, things of that nature, and you're always going to have definitions that pertain specifically to the high value and low value man. And we want to provide a lot of context and pretty much value amongst the ones in the middle that I think are missed and are highly significant to the high value and low value man to bring meaning to everything.
So, in other words, what we're trying to say is that the value of men and how we see the value of men is more so of a spectrum than it is a boom, boom, boom. Obviously, it's like a ladder. You have to climb to certain places. Doesn't mean that you're at the top of the ladder right out the gate. Doesn't mean that you're at the bottom. But there are certain behaviors and certain traits that you have to acquire to move up, and certain things that you have to have that will force you to move down. And some situations are involuntary. We get a little bit more in depth with those involuntary situations versus the voluntary situations. But when it comes down to someone that is high value and what has been described as high value, obviously net worth, your network, your ability to be useful. What am I missing here?
Your ability to, well, you said network, but also, your ability.
That's what I said. Ability to be useful. Your net worth, network, ability to be useful. So another one.
Transaction.
I'm sorry.
Transaction value.
So when you look at this, as far as a metric of understanding what value is, what is value? Value, valuable, something that actually will provide value, provides a service. your being around or things that you contribute provide things to others. It's not just a matter of what you provide to a woman or to a counterpart or whatever have you, but it's more so about your usefulness across the board. Obviously, the more high value or the more value that you have, the more useful that you are to society as a whole. The way that we look at this is that it should be pretty clear cut. That if you were to give an example of somebody that you would consider to be at the top, I think that we will all have a very similar point of view when it comes down to who's at the top and who's not at the top. So if you wanted to give an example, Mike, of somebody that you consider that be at the top value, what would you who give me a couple of names and a reason why you would consider them to be at that level?
Um, I think the easiest route to go to identify a high value person is definitely going to be celebrity based because it's just so much easier for the general public to really grasp the idea of what high value is because we really look up to as far as society we look up to celebrities. So one example that I gave you during our conversations was Dwayne the Rock Johnson, simply because um, on top of being a successful wrestler and then being able to transition that into being a film star and then being able to also transition that, and he's doing music now. So with that also being said, the value from him is going to be his ability to be able to transact within his network of individuals that are also high value that is going to continue to help him grow and build. um I think you already mentioned the 5 year mark. Did you mention that
No,
already?
touch into it.
All right, so one of the key qualifications or qualifiers that puts you in that high value status or ranking is that you make six figures for 5 consecutive years. He's definitely done that, probably twice. uh, Again, his network. So he's doing music now. So he's involved with Strange Music. If you don't know, that's Tech Nine and all them. So he's doing a lot of things over there. And then of course his movies. Jumanji being a really huge hit for him. Uh, Skyscraper, you name it. He has a list of them. And then on top of that, his wrestling career. Also, he's fit. He's fit and he's friendly. So he's a motivation for men to get healthy. Um, and he's also very easy to work with and be around. So those are the qualifiers that he has.
Well, let me go ahead and throw in on top of that because you did mention something I think that is a really essential point is that when you have a certain level of confidence and a certain level that you carry yourself, you generally can identify where someone is or what trajectory they're heading in based on their level of comfortability when it comes down to how they project themselves. For instance, those of us who don't feel the need to overcompensate for our accomplishments and or lack thereof, that level of confidence that we have, those things are indicators or at least are good markers for where a person is headed or where a person is. You generally don't see somebody that is super successful, that is just knocking goals out the park. You don't really see them having a lot of situations to where they're disgruntled and angry and because you may be successfully commercially, financially, but you may not feel so great within. You may still be dealing with a lot of trauma. You're not doing the work to rid yourself of the trauma or the anguish of whatever your past life was. And people who are motivated off of anger and frustration, I think that those people, they are driven by success. And once the anger dissipates, then the reason to be successful is no longer there. So I do want to hint at what just kind of when you mentioned about, it's like how pleasant and personable he is. I believe that once you reach a place to where you are good within, as you are with your outward appearance, you spend more time trying to do more for others and be more of a service to the community than to yourself. And I do think that people like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Kevin Hart, despite his transgressions, people who go out of their way to reach for the next man and try to pull them up rather than trying to keep them down and remind them that they're below them. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you definitely hit the nail on the head, and I think what you just mentioned is a great qualifier as well, is being able to either one, reach back and pull someone up and help them with their career, or help them get to an area or place where they're trying to go, and not necessarily look for any type of gain or compensation or anything like that from it. I think that's a great qualifier as well for a high value man.
Now, like we said, we didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time because there's so many different platforms that actually delve deep into the different qualifiers of high value man because it's such a popular topic. But let's talk about the ones in the middle that we don't really get a chance to hear much. So, the man on the rise. What is the man on the rise? Man on the rise is a person who is starting to hit those tick marks. You're starting to get places, like you have goals and you've done the hard work and you're starting to climb out of that stagnant area to where you're starting to see, hey, this is my first year hitting that finance goal. I just purchased my first home, or I just qualified. I just got my credit to where I needed to be so I can qualify for the type of loans that I want. I just started my LLC. It's like those people who get out of the mental fog of the whether I should or whether I shouldn't, and then they start going into their purpose. You qualify as the man on the rise. You give the people who are at the top, they're watching now to try to see if you're going to remain consistent in your climb so that they can reach down and pull you the rest of the way. But it's at that point in time to where you're no longer at a place to where you are feeling like you're stuck between decisions. And I know this is a very popular thing amongst a lot of creatives that I have conversations with because they are so good at so many different things that they oftentimes don't know what to do first. So they jumble themselves up, or out of fear of failing at whatever they're doing, they just stop altogether. Some people are self-proclaimed perfectionists to where if they can't do it right the first time, they just don't, which I believe that's like anti-perfectionism in a way because you have to practice the craft consistently to be perfect at it. So some people are just like, if I'm not naturally gifted in this, or if I'm not just showing promise in it right out the gate, or I'm not excelling or showing that I'm obviously amongst the top tier in this thing right out the gate, then they give up on it too quickly. So I do think that that fog area, as far as when you start making your way out the fog, you start to climb the tree. You're not at the top of the tree where the best fruit is, but you're climbing the tree. You're getting up there. You found the motivation, you found the stride, you found the step to start moving. You found the confidence or whatever the motivating factor was to say, all right, I'm no longer going to stay inconsistent in this thing. I'm going to start taking the steps. So this is a wide spectrum, in my opinion, because of the fact that you could be right under the high value spectrum, the way you're hitting that 6-figure mark 2-3 years, but you're not there. It's not there, but you're developing a formula to where you can hit it consistently. So you're almost there, but you haven't quite got there yet. You may still have some habits or things as far as how you spend or invest money that you haven't matured in yet to where your value is there. Or you may not have developed the network of people that's going to carry you over to that next threshold yet. So you're in a good space. You're just not there yet. Or you're starting to climb out of that situation to where you're at the bottom of the stagnant, or you're at the top of the stagnant pile, at the bottom of the man on the rise, to where you're coming up. You're making decisions. You're learning the mistakes that the mistakes that I made. You're learning and you're applying with everything that you learn, and you're starting to climb up. What do you want to add on to that?
I think that you hit a real good point about formula. I definitely think that the man on the rise is the person that's really delving deep into the thing that they're trying to do, whatever craft that they're trying to hone, whatever career that they're trying to rise to through the ranks in, that they really dig deep into understanding the system that is needed, or figuring out a system to put in place to make these results repeatable, and you starting to see the fruits of your labor. So formula systems, making it repeatable, and really learning from your mistakes. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna make sure I do this. Make sure I do that. I'm gonna make sure that my paperwork is in order. I'm gonna make sure that for now on, I'm no longer doing the homie hookup. Everybody has to sign a contract. Mama, daddy, sister, everybody has to sign a contract for me to do this work, or for me to perform this service, or blase, this, that, and the third. Putting all that that you learn, and bringing it full circle to make sure that you don't fail. I think that's the man on the rise.
And let's also expand on that just a little bit more as well. When you think about this, this is where you start learning how to schedule, how to budget, how to partition your time, to prioritize what's important and what's not important. This is where you start making the decisions of, do I go out and go hang out at the bar with my friends, or do I sit at home and burn the late night oil and drink that coffee and start penning out the things that I need to get done? Do I become a late night, early morning type of person, to where I'm operating off of minimal sleep, but I'm getting things done? I'm chipping away at those things that need to be done. It's when you start making the decisions that are going to transition your life from here to here. So this is where you start to acknowledge the fact that my circle of friends may not be the circle of friends. Maybe I'm looking for them to motivate me, when really I need to be motivating myself. And now it's time for me to take a back seat from that group of friends and put myself in a situation to where I am now going to meetings, I'm going to places, I'm going to seminars. Instead of me doing what I normally would do, I'm now associating myself in different circles to find out who is more aligned with where I'm going, rather than who is aligned with where I am or who I was.
That's perfect. Anybody in the world that need to understand what a man on the rise is, we just gave it to you.
I mean, again, it's like as we stated earlier. Basically, this is where you're creating a formula. This is where you're creating the habits, and this is where you are wash, rinse, repeat. I find out what doesn't work. I find out what does work, and then I repeat the things that do work, and I scrap the things that don't. It's a fairly simple mathematic process, but these are things that I speak of as somebody is actively doing this. And now I want to get into this stagnant portion. I want you to take the reins, open it up on stagnant man. What is the stagnant man? What are the characteristics of a stagnant man? Now, I urge anybody who's out there listening, if it's women and you're in a dating pool, I want you to listen close and hear what's being said as he's explaining the steps and stages of a stagnant man. And whatever he doesn't get, I'll elaborate a little bit further, but this is a big one. And this is where the multitude of men modern day are currently lying. Your show.
Hey, so I think that the stagnant man is the guy, simply put, does not have the motivation to get up. Macy, hold on, baby. Hold on. Does not have the motivation to get up and develop himself, push himself to pick up and learn a new trade, a talent, a skill that can afford that man a great living. This is the person that is extremely, like, kind of comfortable where they're at. And this isn't necessarily like a lazy person. It can be, but it can also be somebody that's very complacent and they're comfortable and fine where they're at. They don't want to push and strive for anything further because they think that where they're at is the peak and they're fine there. So if I missed anything, I hope that I tried to make it impactful in just a few words. But to me, that's a stagnant individual.
So I think that you actually did a very good thing, and I'll go ahead and I'll start adding some meat to the bones here. So when it comes down to stagnant, first and foremost, let's go to the definition. As you know, I like to play with real words. So in playing with real words, I'm going to give us the definition of what stagnant means.
I'm finna lay man down. He knocked out. I'll be
All right,
back.
All right, I'll keep it going. All right, so for those that are watching, I'm going to share the definition of stagnant with you guys. And I want you guys to pay very close attention to what it says. So right here in the dictionary, showing no activity, dull and sluggish. So if I go down a little further, what does it mean to be a stagnant person? Same deal. Being in a state of stagnant. Stagnation is in a state of being still or not moving. So when you look at these things and you say to yourself, what is stagnation? The word stagnant itself is pretty much you're just here. You're just existing. You're not really living. You're not really contributing, but you're not contributing. You're just in a place of mediocrity. If I can just make that a very simple phrase. You get up, you go to work, you come home, kiss the wife, kiss the kids, sit down, you watch TV, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, do the same things that you've been doing. You really have no ambition to go further. You're not really learning new skills. You're not really acquiring anything beyond what is necessary. You're here, bills are getting paid, maybe a little bit left over for vacation. You may have enough for a couple of toys and trinkets that you like. And after that, there's nothing else going on. There's no desire to say, hey, what can I do to be a better service to my community? Hey, what can I do to be a better service to my family? Hey, what can I do to better myself? What can I do to prevent myself from falling into a sea of monotony? This is what it means to be stagnant, man. And what happens is you'll find someone who they'll get excited because let's say the last 2-3 jobs they had was making $15 an hour. So they finally land that $22 an hour job, which probably is the equivalent of about 40,000, 41,000. So now you're at a place to where you can pay your rent, whatever you have, you can buy yourself a car, you can maintain your payments, insurance and everything, and you're good. You're at a good place because you're comfortable, you're eating, you don't have to worry about where the rent money is going to come from. And for a lot of us, we get in this place and we get stuck there. But you know what happens? The world around us continues to evolve. So where rent 5 years ago might have been $1,200 in some places, that same rent now is about $1,700, $1,800. But you were so good here that you weren't thinking about the fact that society continues to move. So now everything that you're doing is putting you in a perpetual state of always having to play catch up. But you play catch up and you may catch up, may get a second job, whatever the situation may be, but it's never with the intent to excel. It's just to maintain comfort. So you notice we used a lot of words today as far as the synonyms that tie into these words: complacent, maintained, stagnant. These things really are where a lot of us are, is that we get up and we do things over and over again. And we become creatures of habit. And those habits that we acquire are just enough. But when it comes to being men, we have to understand that we are in a race for a material resource constantly. You have to understand that when you go to Walmart, it might be an endless supply of macaroni from what you see, But from the logistical point of view, there's only so many boxes of macaroni on that shelf. Every family that walks into Walmart from the time they open to the time they want, if every last one of them wanted macaroni, they might not be able to get one because there's a finite amount of it there. So people who are competitive, who are motivated, the ones that are early risers, the ones who are, I'm just now really getting out of a prehistoric mindset. And Midas, I want your thought process on this because this is something that it was brought to my attention that since I started doing, I really started to understand why this is so essential. So obviously, everybody knows Uber Eats, Shipt, the various companies that bring you your stuff. You shop, you pay a little bit of extra money, and you go out there and you go get it. Because I'm about to start running fades at Walmart for almond milk. Oh, that's a good one. Listen, but it's true. It's absolutely true. It's like there's only so much that you can get. So if you're not somebody that knows, all right, let me go talk to this guy over here. Hey, when do y'all trucks come in? Oh, okay, cool. I know to be here every Tuesday between this time and this time because that's when y'all gonna bring the fresh almond milk out, or that's when y'all gonna bring the fresh eggs out. If you're not in the mindset of thinking I need to get to those resources first, and you're always constantly on the back end of getting what it is that you're getting, then there's no reason logically to why you're guessing, why you're falling short consistently. It's because the same habits keep you in the same state of being. Now, as far as the point that I was making, time is the most valuable resource that you have. So because of the fact that time is the only thing that you can't get back, I was told, why not, since for those who don't know, I'm in college. I'm finishing up my bachelor's right now. I should be done with this by the end of sometime in the near future, but to be continued. But they said, if you're studying and you work a full-time job and you're doing 10, 11 hours a day on your full-time job, you're not really getting a lot of sleep because in between studying and working, you have to partition your time out accordingly. So why not just pay the little bit of extra money to have them bring it to you? Somebody else is exchanging time for dollars to bring it to your front door. And of course, me being the type of guy I am, I get up, I go get my own stuff. I don't want nobody else touching my stuff. I don't trust people. I don't this, I don't that. And then they said to me, you've been trusting the pizza man since you was a boy. When they used to deliver the Chinese food to you, you've been trusting people to bring stuff to you. You get on the bus and you trust that that bus driver is not drunk, or trust that that plane operator pilot. You've been trusting people in exchange for time for a long time, because you could get on the road and drive 18 hours, or you can get on the 2.5 hour flight. You're trusting somebody else who is exchanging time for dollars to get you where you need to be faster and more efficiently. So tell me again about how Uber Eats and Shipt and these other programs, how you don't trust them, but you'll trust the bus driver, but you'll trust the pilot. You trust everybody else who's exchanging time for dollars, but not these guys. I was like, okay, the logic set in, and I started trying it a little bit. I looked at the average of how long it takes me to go to the grocery store, to go to Sam's Club, whatever, and to go and grab the things that I need. I gained at least another 7 hours out of my week just by letting somebody else go do it for me. And then what I'm paying them in tip or whatever the service charge is generally what I would pay in gas prices. I'm not putting gas or wear and tear on my own car for somebody else to do it for me. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. And I get my time back. So I don't have to be worried about if I stay over at work making a little bit of extra money about whether or not I'm going to be able to get to sleep, because they have services to where somebody will be at my house, or my stuff that I'm waiting for, I can set it up to have it delivered at my door around the time that I plan on getting that. So it's already waiting for me when I get that. And I don't live in an area to where I have to worry about people walking away stealing it. And if I did, they leave it at the front office. So sometimes you have to look at these things and say, elevation of thought process prevents you from being stagnant in your ways. Being open to choices and decisions and things that are foreign to you conceptually gives you better access to opportunity. What's your thoughts on that?
That's a man on the rise ability to really thoroughly understand that. Let's just use this hypothetically. Let's say that it takes you 2 hours to cut your grass. On average, you got a great career, or you got a very successful business, and let's just say on average in 2 hours you could make 300 $400 easy. Well, understanding that it logically makes more sense to put somebody in place to cut your grass for those 2 hours, and for 30 $40 that they're charging, and I'm gonna go over here and go get this $300 $400. That's part of understanding and formulating and putting a system in place to make sure that you can sustain yourself. So I think what you're talking about is a man on the rise mindset, or high value. That can even be a high value mindset.
Well, that was one of those things that I was going to talk about a little later on, is how some of these traits merge into other traits. Because when you're climbing, you acquire certain traits over a said period of time that start to make you think about, what if I applied this concept across the board? What if I didn't drive to work? What if I had somebody taking care of that on my behalf? That way I'm not as worn out mentally from having to get on the road all the time. Or what if I left out half an hour early so I can bypass traffic? All because I didn't want to be at work early. What if I just change that habit about myself so that I can bypass rush hour? What if I stay at work an hour late so that I bypass rush hour on the way home? Because I'm technically going to get home around the same time anyway, but I don't deal with the mental stress of being stuck in traffic. So a lot of times you don't really realize the decisions that you're making and the effect of the decisions that you make, that if you just tweaked it, like for anybody who lives out here in Florida, you know that, and I don't know if Leonard is still in here, but living in Florida, you can leave between 5 and 7 minutes and it will change your entire day from being bumper to bumper traffic or a smooth ride to work. 5 to 7 minutes.
Literally. Which you was like that in Chicago.
I don't know, man.
It don't matter what
so
time
long,
of
I
day
don't remember.
you hit.
See, because the thing is, you got to remember that when I was living in Chicago, that I lived in Chicago, so I could just get on the train to go. That didn't apply to me because I didn't have to drive anywhere. So as far as getting up, going to work every day, I could just jump on the green line, jump on the red line. I could jump on the number 4. I could jump on the number 3. Like I had 4 or 5 ways to get to work to make sure I was going to get there on time because there were so many different resources available. Here in Florida, you don't have those same resources. So especially where I live, I'm not in Orlando City. I'm outside in Orange County. So being outside of Orange County, you don't have the same level of bus service, and the bus service is insufficient as is. But I don't have it out here. There's only one bus that comes this way, and it runs like the pace. It may come every 45 minutes to an hour, and it's done by 8 o'clock. So for somebody like me who works overnight, that's not an option. So it's either you keep your car in check or you lift. So as far as concerned, just to give a little bit more context to stagnation. Stagnation does not always mean that you're doing nothing. It just means that you're doing the same across the board. Now, what happens is that it doesn't mean that you're not trying to do anything. What it's saying is the fact that you may be in a bad marriage. You may have a bunch of repercussions for decisions that you made that prevent you from having access to move to that next stage of rising up. For instance, I learned the value of credit when I didn't have any. I was so irresponsible that I couldn't even get a bank account. I had to have a prepaid card. This is before Green Dot came out. Let me tell you, so long ago, Washington Mutual was still a bank. And Green Dot, NetSpend, none of those guys existed. It was a payroll card that I had to have, to where I had to have every dime that I had direct deposited to that payroll card with the Visa logo, just so I could make any type of online purchases. And then some jobs that I had, they did not offer, like some of those jobs that I had, they didn't offer paper checks. So you only could get your money direct deposited. So with that being said, I was in a situation to where I really did not have a choice but to make the decisions that I made. So now here we go. After learning about finance from doing it the hard way, learning about credit and burning your credit up. And then I had my identity stolen when I was 19, which didn't make that much better. I didn't finally be able to get a credit card in my name until I was 25. So a lot of things that you don't realize that's happening, you can get stuck in a situation to where it's like, yeah, it wasn't my fault that my credit got stolen, but I wasn't responsible with my Social Security card. I had one of those long Coach wallets that we used to have back in the day. Left it sitting at my sister's house. A friend of hers picked it up and decided to just go and run wild with my credit. It had my ID in it. It had my Social Security card in it. It had my birth certificate in it. Everything, because I was in transitioning from moving from out there in University Park back to the city. So in doing so, the underlying factor was that I put myself into a situation that it put me in a sorry, I'm stumbling up a little bit. I'm just trying to get the words together because I'm getting texts and stuff. What ended up happening was that I had to learn a very hard lesson, and it prevented me from moving into a different bracket or into a different space until I acquired the skills necessary to realize the mistakes that I was making. And the mistakes that I was making were minuscule. Overspending, hanging out, girls, gotta show them a good time, liquor, cigarettes, name it. All these money pits, just nonstop money pits. And with all those money pits, I just literally sat back and I put myself in a situation that I couldn't figure it out. So until I figured out the problem was me, I couldn't get out of that zone. And I stayed a lot of years in that zone. Your thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway is that you finally came to the realization and understood what was going on, and you were never ever going to see a change until you made the change, and seeing that you have to be the person to see this thing through, or to excel to the next level, whatever it is that you're trying to do. It all starts with you, and I think that's a very vital life lesson learned, because a lot of people, when they finally come to this or have an epiphany or whatever, they finally wake up, it's too late. It's too late. And you discovered this at a time where you were able to bounce back and rebuild, and now look at you. So I think that's very powerful right there.
And let me put this out here. If there's anybody that's viewing this right now on the outside and you have questions, if you're watching this in Facebook or you're watching this in Twitch or any of the other social media sites, if you have questions or you want to come in and chime in and add something to the conversation, by all means, just say something in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and get with you on that, because I definitely want to make sure that we get more people's opinions and thoughts on these situations. So with the stagnant phase, there are some things, as we were talking about things that cross over into different phases, like the bottom tier of stagnant phase and going down to man on a decline. Sometimes some of these traits can intersect. For instance, in the man on the decline doesn't always have to mean that he's making poor decisions. He could have just been in a bad marriage, bad relationship. Now child support is coming out. Now alimony is coming out. Now all of a sudden his life has been altered to where a portion of his paycheck is being rerouted into another situation. And due to that, it drastically decreased his earning potential. That does not mean particularly that that man has been stagnant or he hasn't done anything. But then you also have to ask yourself, well, does this man have a network of people around him to assist him when he goes into that situation? So if that happens, you look at wealthy people that have reported like they get married over and over and over again and they never go broke because they understand there's a wealth and value in marriage. So it's not necessarily a factor of the marriage or what you have to lose, but more so what you have to gain. So if you don't have a network of people to, hey, you in a bad situation, let me help you. Let me put you on your feet. Hey, you need a couple years of not having to pay rent or pay in a situation so that you can balance out your finances and get yourself back in order. Sure. I got a guest room over here. That's all yours. You don't owe me nothing. Just go ahead and get your life right. Sometimes not having access to resources and people who have value of resources puts you in a situation to where you bearing the burden on your own can cause you to decline. What's your thoughts on that?
I also think that not necessarily having access to the necessary resources that you need to be able to get yourself out of particular situations, but the man on the decline could be somebody that's losing resources that gets them put into particular situations and is making it harder for them to get themselves balanced back out. Man on the decline. I think a man on the decline is somebody that is completely losing control of his emotions, completely losing ability to protect his sanity, which is going to, eventually drive him insane. It's causing you to develop and or partake more deeper into particular habits that you got. You're smoking more, drinking more, you're cursing more. You know what I'm saying? Your lack of not caring. I don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Middle finger to everybody and all this and that. Like all of that starts to develop. And I think those are really bad characteristics of a man that's on the decline.
You make some valid points in that. I think that a lot of times we don't even realize that by, I guess to sum up what you were saying is more so becoming reactionary to the environment around you rather than being
Yes.
somebody who, it's funny. I was reading and I would say anybody who is still have the book here. I don't have the book on my person at the moment, but I would encourage anybody who's watching this, if you get a free moment, Stephen Covey wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Early on in the chapters, one of those things that he mentioned was about the fact that there are some people that they are motivated solely by the environment. So if the environment is bad, if it's raining, they respond to the rain. Oh, it's not a good day because it's raining. The sun is shining, then everything is good because the sun is shining, the weather is good. So some people are driven by the environment. They go to work, they don't shape the environment around them at work. They are affected by the environment. It's a lot of work going on. Oh, it's a bad day. It's a light day, not too much to do. Excuse me, it's a great day. And to your point, I do believe that that is a marker of identifying a low value trait is the fact that people are influenced by stuff outside of their own ability to make choices and decisions for themselves. So if I have to look at something, I say that if I apply a theory or a thought to say this is somebody that is on a decline. First and foremost, to be on a decline, you have to actually have been somewhere in the first place. So a decline could easily be inflation. You don't watch the news, you don't watch financial reports, you don't pay attention to what's going on out there in the world. So what happens is inflation is taking place, rent is skyrocketing, but you're not making money decisions to accommodate those things. So, like, yeah, you're making the same money, but the value of money is not the same as it was a year ago, 6 months ago. So now that the cost of goods and everything else is rising, you're still here. That can cause you to involuntary decline. So is it your fault that inflation is taking place? Absolutely not. But is it your fault that you're not preparing for it? So I think that realistically, when you break down the man on the decline, you can always pinpoint the markers of where the decline is coming from. How is it happening? What's happening around you? Who do you attribute the reason why it's happening for? Is it Biden's fault? Is it Trump's fault? Is everybody's fault except your ability to respond accordingly? So if you know the stock market does this, and you know Bitcoin does this, and you know that these different things happen, but you're not preparing adequately for those changes and those shifts that have been happening since 140 something years that the stock market has existed, then is that society's fault or is it yours?
I think that you hit a really good point with understanding your finances and taking better grasp of your finances, especially with inflation in place. Yes, you can't control it, but to your point, if you're still making the exact same money at your place of occupation, then you're still in the same routine of, well, I'm still finna go get these lottery tickets. I'm still finna, go over here and get that bottle of Saveca. I'm still finna, do this, do that. I need these blacks. I'm finna, man, the new Modern Warfare came out. I'm definitely finna get that, and it's like your rent, the rent office just told you that the rent going up $50. So now that $50 that needs to go on rent, you just spent on Modern Warfare. And I think, like, really taking, what am I trying to say? Responsibility, I guess. It needs to now start to become to the forefront, and financial your financial IQ, your financial intelligence, like budgeting, things of that nature. It needs to start coming to the forefront to make sure that you're still going to maintain your way of life, your living.
One thing I do want to do is I don't want it to appear to be too anecdotal. Like, obviously, when you give the examples like the Modern Warfare, the Black and Milds, I think it's like, I would like to just attribute it to a blanket of behavior that does not produce but takes away. That you're more invested into consumer culture than you are into bank of self. So, because I know that depending on what culture you're in, we're not all in the same thought process. Like, for those of you guys who play games, if I hear you say something about Modern Warfare and I'm looking at you and saying, okay, what's that? Because I don't play games like that. So when we talk about consumer spending habits and being more so consumers than savers or investors, I mean, obviously that translates a little bit more to what decisions are you making with your money? Because there are people who don't drink or smoke that are still frivolous with money. There are people who go out and buy figurines.
You still went and bought the Jordans. Like I mean, you
but
still.
Again, it's like that could be cultural. It could be anecdotal. So, like, regardless, we're talking about Jordans, or we're talking about somebody that felt like they had to go buy a new spoiler kit for their car.
Right.
Somebody, I had to go tint my windows. Like, this was a priority over something that was more important, like having access to money when things start to go wrong.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's like, regardless of the nature of the decision that you made, it's the fact that you made the decision that caused you to be unprepared when the time came.
Mhm.
So now, with that much being said, I think low value speaks for itself. So I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time here, but go ahead and delve off into the low value concept of mankind.
Low value, kind of simply put, you're not a producer, like at all. This is where the lazy man lives. Um, couching it, couch surfing it. Just completely has no skill set, no talent at all, and refuses to try to take the time to learn, to gain. Uh, Maybe very minimal education. Um, can't hold a job. He's on the job a month, on the job 2 months, and he gets the boot.
Or
So
my favorite is like, it wasn't a good fit for me.
it wasn't a good fit for
I love that. It's not a good fit for me. You mean paying your bills wasn't a good fit for you? Got
me.
it.
So
Gotcha.
um, I don't insert negative connotation here. Whatever you think that low value man is, or that low value individual is, that's what it is.
I gotta stop you though, because there are groups of people who look down on a man that might be in that average category as if he's low value. You have to understand that it's like, especially in the sexual marketplace, in the dating pool, people are looking at this very small select group of
He's
people as
booming
if,
in the sexual marketplace. He has the time.
hear what I'm saying? There's a group of people who they are hell bent on looking at a specific group of people, a very small, finite group of men, as if they are the apex and everything below them is low value. So you can't say that you insert negative connotation here, because there's somebody that says that a man that makes 50, or he only makes $50,000 a year. There's somebody who thinks like that. And that's not the case when it comes down to that man. He may be average, he may be across the board, but by no means or no stretch of the imagination is he low value.
Average is actually above low value.
But what I'm saying
I
is
would
that
take average over low value any
what
day.
but what I'm saying
I would
is the
hire
fact that
that.
when you say insert negative connotation here, the problem with that is
But
you make
average
it,
is not a negative connotation.
you're not listening to what I'm saying. I need you to hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
When you say terms like insert negative connotation here, there are people who have negative mindsets of average earners.
Hey, look. Okay. It's consultation.
Your mic going in and out, G.
What
Her real name is Caitlin, but I call her Kay for short because I don't.
Mike, it's just super loud back there. I hear Caitlin and they call her Kay.
Can you hear
Hey,
me?
we fathers, everybody. We're gonna hit some kids every once in a while. This is what we do here.
Thing is, to above average men, the word average is a negative word. Overall, the word average means above negative but below positive. You are right in the middle. It's like getting a C. And getting a C does not mean you fail. It means you pass. You're just not that honor roll. You don't get that certificate. That's how I take it. My bad being late, man. You see, I'm still in the office.
I mean, but check this out though. Like majority of, and I'm only speaking on America since where we're at. Majority of the men in America make average pay.
Yeah, they do.
Like
Actually,
a very vast
it's
majority.
crazy because I just got off a meeting about this. Our minimum wage in Chicago is above average pay for people in other states. Our minimum wage in Chicago is $15.40, supposed to be, but most people pay $15 anyway, regardless. But just saying, $15 an hour is almost $30,000 a year. $30,000 a year. $30,000 a year is an average salary for people in, say, Indiana, where minimum wage is $7.50. Say people, you see what I'm saying? So the thing is, a high value, low value doesn't really, in my opinion, has nothing to do with your income. If you're high value, your income is gonna come regardless. Me and you, we could all say we're high value men here. We make a certain amount, we own a certain amount of property, we do a lot of things. I can remind you of a time 15 years ago, we were still high value men with the same morals and values, but we did things a little different. And we high value, even though we had the money to be considered. We had the money to be considered.
You choppy again. You choppy again.
Let me walk through my office now because
That's why the definition that I gave for low value didn't entail any type of financials at all. The financials wasn't mentioned until I said insert whatever negative connotation here,
Oh,
because
that's
we are
because you
talking
got
about
you
a
kind of
low
walked
value
into
man.
remember I just got here.
yeah, because you
I
kind of
walked
walked
in
into it as
low
we were
consultation.
deliberating on, because it was just that one piece that he said that I was questioning on, because of the fact that if I use a word or if I say something at any point in time, what I might consider to be a good thing is subjective to what the next man or the next woman or whomever might look and say, yeah, that's mediocre at best. So at the end of the day, it's like I don't want to use words like just insert negative connotation, because there are very specific things that are associated with low value.
Well, I want to speak on what you said, that, you know, saying somebody that thinks that somebody makes 50,000 a year, you know, saying that's low value or mediocre average at best, and
Yes.
that's true.
No,
That is true.
It's not
Like
true.
a lot of people do look at $50,000 as low value or average. Like we can't change how they think.
There
You
you
know,
go.
somebody making 10 million a year, aka Rich Dad,
Could
can
be
look at
low class.
600,000 and
Somebody
be like,
making
that's small
10 million.
money.
Yeah.
That's pocket change to me. I don't get out of bed for 600,000. I'm a $10 million company. You know what I'm saying? So you got people out here that do think like that.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I mean, that's my point. That was entirely my point, is the fact that when you say certain things are subjective. And that's the reason why I say that I like to stay linear when it comes down to when we're having a conversation about something. It's like, these are the tick marks, because once I start delving off into different sectors of those things, then I leave it up to interpretation. Because now when you say insert negative connotation here, you're an Android user.
It opens the conversation. It opens us up to have a conversation to really kind of pinpoint and narrow down exactly what everybody as a general consensus thinks is a low value. That's why I said just insert here, and we can have a grown, extraordinary conversation about it.
Well, that's
which
not
is
what
what we're doing now.
I tell
That's
y'all
not
what
what
I
you
think
said.
a low value means. What I think a low value man is. Because I know I missed that part when they went around the room and everything, and I really wanted to be there, but I had a string of meetings. You see, I'm still here right now. Still here. That's what we're doing. Low value and price have two different things, and a lot of people in the world confuse the two. And this is not directed to either one of y'all. This is how the world looks at value. The first thing a woman will say is a high value man makes 100,000. I'm sorry, but 100,000 ain't really enough, G, for a lot of shit on earth. But that's the number they came up with. And he does this and he does that. And in all actuality, Your value comes from things that have nothing to do with monetary value, in my opinion. How
I
well
can agree and disagree with that point.
see,
Yeah, I'm
this,
topsy turvy about that too.
don't worry about it. You won't be at the end of this. See, the man who sits there, how are your morals and values? What is your family structure like? How do you believe structure should go? What are your goals, aspirations? How are you moving? And what are you doing towards that? What is your ability to raise children, and what kind of, and even if you don't have any children, if you were to, what kind of values and morals would you distill in this person? See, if these things are on track, then the money's gonna be there. It's gonna be there because that if he has the mentality that family is first and that I must provide, protect, and lead, and I must do this, that, and the third, that shit gonna be there. So that's why I don't have to say, oh, he has to make 100,000 because this niggas with great morals and values, this high value men that make 50,000. Will they be making 50,000 next year? Probably not. Will they be making 50,000 5 years from now? No, they'll probably be making 150, 200,000, and then they'll be on all these shows and doing all this and saying this. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to mention the money because you don't have to have money already to be high value. We were high value when we were goddamn 19, 20. We did dumb shit, but we still had morals and values. We still made shit work. And we knew goddamn well as soon as we had some kids, the world shut down about them kids. We knew that. We never abandoned, nobody here ever abandoned their children. No one here ever was like, fuck my baby mama, I'm not gonna pay nothing for these kids and they gonna suffer and she gonna be happy. I'm gonna be happy because she's suffering. But no, never, nobody here ever did that. And even if you worked at McDonald's and you did your best to do this, that, and the third, does it make you high value? No. But does it make you a man? Yeah. You did what you could. See, I sit up in here. I'm here. It's 8 o'clock. I was supposed to got off at 5. And this usually looks way prettier than this. But my fancy smancy thing fell down because it's so hot in my office because of the problems that we got here. And I actually care about a lot of things that go on with everything. That's why I dedicated myself to the community. This is a community-based organization. When they don't get paid, when stuff don't go right, you have people that have morals and values that care about these things. That's value. That person who only give a shit about $1, he has no value. His value is paper. That's all he cares about. That's all he does. He doesn't care about his family. He doesn't care. He trade his wife for $1 billion. And there's a lot of niggas that'll be watching this and be like, yeah, I trade mine for $1 billion too. Yeah, you ain't shit either. The fuck? This how this shit go. You can have $1 billion and be a low value man and have no money and be a high value man.
Well, let's
how you move and what your motivation and what you do is.
So let's look at it like this.
Midas, you married right now. Everybody here. Matter of fact, both of y'all niggas married. Look, would you trade your wife's life for $1 billion right now?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But it's impossible. It's impossible to be a high value man.
Right? We're not talking about possibility. Where your morals and values are. If somebody walked in with that cash and showed it to you, would you go?
No.
That makes you
absolutely not.
The man that would, regardless of how much money.
There's not enough. There's not enough that could make me make this rash decision.
Unless or what?
Unless what?
Unless you or what?
What, single? Is
a low value man.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Individual. You would definitely take money. Like I was sitting in here.
Damn, I'm single. They just want to throw me a bill. Yeah, I take it.
How much gay shit they would do for money? $10,000. I'll suck a dick if I gotta suck it once. What?
10 grand?
What? 10 million, 10 billion, 10 trillion. I don't give a fuck what you pay me. I'm not gonna compromise my morals and values for you. It's not gonna happen. So that is high value as far as I'm concerned.
I was just gonna the point that I was just gonna make. The point that I was just gonna make that it's impossible to be a high value man, and there's no monetary gain behind being that high value man because your network is too it's built too well. You have to have a solid network to even be that. So that kind of like cancels out.
Well, also, I
But
want to go this.
dog, how do
Let
you? Anybody can get a solid network by networking eventually. Thing is, you are correct. You cannot be a high value man except for shit like that. You cannot. It's impossible. Whole point. You cannot be a high value. I don't care if you had $1 million. You do realize that rich people' main focus is to get richer. And if you got $1 million, that dude with $1 million is more likely to do something extra for another $1 million than the dude who don't have nothing. Because he wants to keep this going. A lot of things that people, it's a lot of flip-flop beliefs. People believe, oh, if you got this, then you act like that. Sorry, but I've been around a lot of millionaires, and some I've been around in my family my whole life have millions of dollars in reused garbage bags. We would look at that and be like, that's disgusting. We don't do that. What are you doing? But in all actuality, they do that. That's their thing because they care more about being rich than being sanitary. They have more about, see, and that makes them low value off top. It's how we move, how you do. Do you have the ability to build? If everything died right now, everything you had was taken from you, how long would it take you to get it back better? Can you build a house from the ground up? Do you have the resources or at least the know-how or could you try to figure it out? No. Half of them can't. Without this and that and the third, if they took everything, could you build it? Could you make this family? Can you take a family and bring it from we're living in an apartment to living in a mansion? Could you do that? Are you that? That's what makes you high value. High value is the dude who you meet that has the capability to do all of these things and the morals and values to make it true. You can meet a high value man right now. They're working McDonald's. And he's a high value man at heart. The society will never see him as one until he finishes his plan. But he's so focused that, yeah, he work at McDonald's while he go through school and he put himself through this and he do that. And then next thing you know, 3 years done went by. Now all of a sudden you see him, you like, you worked at McDonald's. And you like, motherfucker, you see this desk? See what the fuck I'm doing here?
You see, Marvin, this is why I wish that you were here from the beginning. Because we literally sat down and how those tiers have a tendency to interchange different values and different sets. So it's like everything that you're saying, I agree and disagree, but I agree. But had you been here from the beginning, the full context would have been that we are completely in agreement. It's like in the second half of it, it's just kind of like high value does not. It's like
I got the caps thing going. I apologize, bro. This
is all good. No, it's like
I got a moment with Santa coming up. Yeah, anybody that need a job and know some people that need value, come to Moment with Santa. We goddamn it, we'll give you kids fucking toys and everything, and we'll also offer you a job into how to get to the high value man shit. If you want that, let us know. Shit, I had to deal with that. I got the city, I got the state, the feds, it's all type of stuff. But this meeting started at 2:30. It was supposed to have been over at 5. Hey y'all, this where we at now. So I do apologize because you know me, I definitely wanted to be part of this topic. I definitely wanted to be there from the beginning, but it's what it is, man. It's one of them things that high value men do. It's called sacrifice. Do y'all know about that, right? Damn, y'all that mad, G, for real. Look,
I'm trying to say all too well. You know, the microphone didn't click on fast enough.
Like, damn, moment of silence.
Too well. Damn, I'm sacrificing now. Like I did an overnight last night. I'm finna do an overnight tonight, and then with no sleep, go straight up to Waukegan and go deal with the chief of police and the fire Chief and all them and work out all these fire panels like straight after that.
And they gonna have attitudes because they didn't want to be up this late and doing that either.
Real talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that. Man. This nonprofit shit, you get to see real life. This is honestly, this is why my opinion is the way that it is, because working in the hardest to serve communities with the hardest to serve people is what they say, what it's supposed to be, and what it is. And you see people, good people, who have solid morals and values and what they fall to and what they would not have failed to if they had just a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And then you put them on the right path and you see them as high value men in 6 months. And you like, this is crazy. Value is
That's
crazy.
what a high value man's supposed to do.
You want me to tell you what a low value man is? Do we go into that yet or no?
That's what we talking about.
Oh, low value. Yeah. They can have $1 million. It doesn't matter. They low value if their morals and values are compromised. That means they will do obscene things for reward. That's not what we do. That you will compromise what you believe in and what you stand for $1 or for some pussy or for anything. And yeah, there's a lot of them because they're normally raised by women, but we're going to just go ahead and skip over that part. Whole time, low value man is a person who cannot provide, is not willing to protect, and not just not willing, but is not able to. Either or. If you can't all right, so the job of a man is to provide, protect, to lead. That's what they say. Job of a husband, same thing. Provide, protect, lead. If you're not able to do those things, that makes you a low value man. Women would argue your financial situation is what makes you capable of the provide, lead, and all that. And
security.
It has sense.
That's a woman's security.
There you go. Which is provide. It makes sense to an extent. However, it does not make sense because, especially in this day and age, how they picking both sides. But we'll go into that when we talk about high value and low value women on the next show. Today, we're going to focus on them. You give him that and make him that, and then be mad that he is that. If he don't provide, protect, and lead, as soon as you meet him, leadership capabilities and shit should be shown. If that wasn't it, fuck wrong with you. But at the same time, that's a low value man. A man who grows up trying to play the system. Oh, I got Section 8, nigga. How many men have you heard say that and be proud about it? Okay, you didn't, because I didn't. If you did, I'd love to know so I could inbox them and say some wow shit because shit is out of pocket. Then you got, as far as leading, men cannot. You got a dude who's consistently asking you what to do, you're not going to see him as a leader. If he don't know, if you come to him and say, hey, this, and this happened, what do we do? And he'd be like, bitch, I don't fucking know. You tell me. Yeah, that's where your low value comes in at. If your tire busts and he can't fix that shit for you, yeah, that's where it is. If you had this man and you sitting on his dick at night, but he can't shovel off your car and make your life a little easier, that's low value shit. You can't, when you refuse or cannot or do not know how to be that guy. Well, without being that guy, that's the difficult part, I guess. But that's what would make someone low value. Their morals and values. If they're wrong and right, it's flipped opposite. You can't tell them shit because that's something that you believe in. If I believe that my left and right is opposite. When you tell me, I'm going to tell you how crazy you are and how fucked up you are as a person for believing that. When in all actuality, you fuck around and be right. But because I'm a low value man, I didn't even give thought to the thought that you might be right. Why? Because I was taught how to argue from a woman. And that's what they do. I'm not going to even lie to you. You might not even want me here because anything that attributes to a low value man to me leads back to women. But some way, somehow, it does. Whether it be their mother, somebody they was with, the way they was raised, something like that. Because it's not naturally in us to be losers. It's just not. It's not naturally in us to see a woman getting fucked up and be like, oh, not my business. No, we had to learn that when they did all this bullshit. It's not naturally in us to not want to be the provider and the leader and to not be that guy. That's not natural. That means something unnatural, like a single parent household or like a mom so salty at niggas she made you want to be a bitch, or something unnatural happened to make you into this person, because that's not who you are. You don't like your hands in mud. Oh, I'm too clean for that. We fucking men, dog. You don't want to move? We fucking men, dog. It got to be done and you being too lazy? We men, dog. We take pride in that shit, whether we like it or not.
So let me interject real quick.
No, you ain't interjecting. That was the end. I'm glad you said something.
All right, so while you were talking, I was just going over a couple of things. I decided to go ahead and pull up the definition of value. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Let me know if y'all can see it. So for those who don't know the the definition of value, I went ahead and I pulled up these terms. Can y'all see them?
Yeah, they're very small.
They're small, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I'll go ahead and I'll read them through. I got to figure out how to get that thing sized up better. But first definition, noun. Yeah. The regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something.
Whew.
Number 2,
Whew.
a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. Number 3, estimate the monetary value of something. Number 4, considered to be important or beneficial, have a high opinion of.
Okay. Now, this is what I want to point out about that definition. All of it has to do with people. What people hold to high regard is considered as value. You said, what was number 2?
Number 2 is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life.
Now, that part, that is high value. Now, estimate the monetary value of a person. Money has value because people put value into it. We've seen that with crypto. If people don't believe in it and put no value. Diamonds. Diamond is a fucking rock. It's a fucking rock. And it comes from years of pressure and shit. And it's shiny. It's a shiny fucking rock. And we will still sell our fucking soul for it. People will give up their lifetime husbands and partners about this fucking rock, which makes it worth $1 million for a big one. See what I'm saying? People invent value. Just invented time. Time never was when man was not. It's just the way shit went until we put this label and decided that's what it was. Whole time, diamonds don't mean shit. Rings didn't even come out until 200 years ago. But try to get a wife without bringing a ring around this bitch. That's all I'm saying.
So here's what happens, right?
That was De Beers that did that.
Oh, beers. It was quite a few. Actually, if you're watching, go ahead on to explain Netflix, like 40 minutes. Not
You choppy.
Watch Diamonds. Watch Diamonds Explained on Netflix, and it'll tell you where they all come from and how cheap they really fucking are. but no one cares. They'll sell their heart for it. A girl will give up her pussy and her soul because a nigga gave her a shiny rock.
So let's look at it
Versus
like this.
gave up his life and gave her a crib and built whatever the fuck for it, made everything, but couldn't afford the rock because he did all of that. She won't like him. That dude that come with that shiny rock gonna get it though.
So let's look at this, right? Because it's like I said to Midas earlier today. I try to veer away from anecdotal circumstances because of the fact that we're dealing with a vast array of people and you never know who's watching or paying attention. So when you say certain things, the unfortunate thing is the fact that some things may be more cultural than they are across the board.
Ding, ding.
Now, one thing that I will say, however, is that when I looked at the definitions and I read through all the definitions are pretty much well agreed upon. And they intersect, they interchange. The regard of something is held to deserve. Somebody who is valuable or somebody who has value. What is their usefulness? Do they have usefulness? If they do have usefulness, what is the use?
And what is the value you put on that use?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes down to the value or use of something in any regard, one of the things that stands out for me particularly is the fact that I could want to save the world. I could want to save my community. I could want to do anything.
Leave her alone.
I could literally sit back and say, hey, I know this person that's over here that they struggling getting to and from work, and they got so many kids, whatever their circumstance, maybe just insert reason. To some degree, a monetary thing is going to be necessary. So whether I was the solicitor of those funds or whether I was the person who directly went in my bank account to give it, the value is in either my ability to obtain or my ability to solicit. Like if you work for a non-for-profit, somebody has to sit down with the government to negotiate the allocation of those funds. Otherwise, you don't have a job and that program doesn't exist.
That's why I stated earlier, ability to transact.
So the thing is the fact that there's value in somebody's ability to sit down and communicate with the people who cut the checks. Nobody gives a check to somebody that they don't consider to be a peer in some regard. So when you sat down and you negotiated the contract that you negotiated, people saw you at a certain regard and held you to a certain esteem. They didn't say, who is this guy? Get him out of here. Why is he even here? They cut you a check. There was value in your presence. And the response to the value in your presence turned into a monetary gain. Maybe not directly for you, but for an entire community. So you cannot remove the money from the value aspect of it, no matter how you slice the bread, because of the fact that we live in a society that you need money to transact. We're not in the times of barter and exchange like we used to be at one point in time in history.
So let me ask
because
you.
money is the medium of exchange, that's how we do it.
Let me ask you a question then.
Go ahead.
Man, come out of high school, bad situation, all that type shit. But he got the brain, and he work at McDonald's, and he got a plan, and he's situated. He ain't got the money right now. Does that make him low value? There's two answers.
The fact,
Correct.
well, for one, he's working, and for two, he graduated.
So here's
No, let him finish. Let's go, because I got an answer for both of y'all.
Okay. All right. He didn't finish, but he's in school. Okay, and he has a plan. The key word you said is he has a plan.
Right.
So yeah, that makes him above low value.
The question is simple.
Here it goes.
It's not the question is simple. It's not where you have the potential to be. Moreover, then where are you? I
Depending
can be someplace in
Depending on
5-10 years.
talking to.
You said what?
Depending on who you talk to. And that's what I was saying. You said yes, he said no. And this was exactly what I was going to say. Yes, technically to society, not even to society, because to men, we'll see him and be like, yeah, that boy going places. We know the value in him. We will see that in him. We will want to hire him. We will be like, Midas to see him at McDonald's working his motherfucking hardest and doing all this extra shit and be like, you know what? We can pull that nigga. We'll see value in that. So he won't be a low value man to us.
A man with
He'll
potential.
be a low value man to the woman who is measuring monetary gain only as value. The one who doesn't even give the time of day because of that. So at that point in time, to a lot of society, he'll be considered as a low value man. But to men who know, we'll be like, shit, look at me. I worked at fucking McDuffers. I was washing dishes. I bet all of the motherfucking women I was trying to holler at would be like, God damn, I wish I talked to this nigga now, sitting next to this goddamn fish tank in his office. But men saw that in me. They said, you're going to be great. You're going to do some things. You're going to be opening offices. You're going to be doing a whole bunch of shit. This is what you need to do. And I had the value of myself to listen. It made sense of it. So I was high value to them. But to the chicks that had a little money or status or thought they was something, I was not. Why? Because I didn't have it already. Value is, like you said, what is your usefulness? What are you trying to do? And make sure you keep that for the next show next week, because that's going to be real. But yeah, the answer is correct in both. In society's eyes, yes, he'd be low value. He works at McDonald's. He don't have nothing. He this, he that. He got some work to do. But in men's eyes, we'll be like, I can hire that nigga to fucking move my motherfucking garage and he'll show up. And he'll do it because he's hungry and he trying to do it. If you say you can't pick out somebody hungry that's trying to do something and make it work versus somebody that ain't, that's different. That's wrong. I don't know what the fuck wrong with you. We'll have a conversation, teach you how to do that. But in all actuality, we will see that and be like, that nigga has value. We will place value, meaning no, he is not low value because somebody places value.
Case in point, Midas, I ask you a very simple question. To his example, you just had somebody that was working with you, but you saw that same glimmer in his eye, that he could be bigger than what it is that you saw him doing. And what did you do?
Fired him.
So,
keyword,
all that sounds good.
Is had.
All of that sounds good.
Because if he was high value, you have a lot of
low
value
sounds good.
Who will fake. And y'all act like y'all ain't never seen a mask before.
It
you got
all sounds good.
That'll fake like they that. And then when it come out to be them, they ain't that. And that they was doing that to impress you. There's a
lot of fudging. There's a lot of fudging on resumes, man.
There's
this part. A billion of them.
There's this part.
Oh shit.
And this is what I'm looking at.
Y'all, I'm gonna have to get in the car and log back on in a second, but I'm gonna stay on as long as I can before I do.
Here's what I'm looking at. Is that when we looking at a situation where you determine value, the value has nothing to do with what a person says, what they show you. So I can sit back and it's like, yes, at that McDonald's, since that's the point of reference, he running his heart out. At a McDonald's level, yes, he is. Boom. At that level of all the rest of the low tiers, he's the hardest working. He has potential to walk out of that situation. He has the most potential or shows the most promise of everybody at the level that he is. That does not mean that he is already at the same place as the man that has been cultivating his craft for the last 20 years. That made the mistakes. No, because again.
Apples and oranges, bro. You can't do that.
Not apples and oranges. It's not apples and oranges. It's not apples and oranges at all. Let me explain to you why it's not apples and oranges.
One at a time. One at a time. One at a time.
Apples and oranges right now.
It's not apples and oranges because of the fact that, again, you said it's what's in you that make you high value. That's what you said. So what I'm telling you is that at that level, that's what's in him. That don't mean he's ready to ascend to over here. That just means that he got to go through the steps.
Okay, I'll go with that. That doesn't mean he's ready. It does mean that he's
And
headed.
that don't mean he high value, because high value is synonymous with high production.
I pulled a lady off a production line in a factory, and she's become my best business service representative that
she has become, which means that she did the work and graduated the steps.
No, it's that I pulled
her off that line when she was here. That's who she was here.
That I saw value in her and pulled her off that line and put her in a position to exercise her strengths. Everybody don't have the opportunity to do that. That's why my agency exists. Everybody don't get opportunity to show their real strengths and excel where they are. So yeah, everybody needs to network and figure that shit out. But I saw value in her. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't have seen it. If she wasn't high value in the first place, I wouldn't even have struck my mind. But I saw value in her, pulled her in here, and now she's the top running fucking job placement specialist it is. So, out of all the agencies. And she was a line worker on a factory.
So here's how this goes. Is that you taking something and conflating it with something else. Because again, we're talking about value. Value is a measure of somebody's usefulness. High value is
that was number two. That was number two. Four. There was three other ones. That was just number two.
Again, value by definition.
Has four definitions. Two of them.
Am I speaking or you just let me get it
out?
Let me get it out. Let me get it out.
I'm trying to get it in before
let me get it out. There's plenty of time. It's unlimited, brother. It's unlimited. High value is a specific metric. They come with specific guidelines. To have value in something is a blanket term that means that I can see value in a child. Don't mean that child is ready to do what you do. That means that they show promise. That's called potential.
Agreed.
I cannot confuse potential with value because value is what you do. It's not what I think of you.
Cool. So let me go and confuse you real quick. So there's a child, right? We see all of our children because we see their potential, right?
Right.
That child come to you with a plan, like I said, dude had a plan and how they was gonna move, and you assist them with it, and you're assisting them with this plan. You have children stars. You got children that do things. Let's say Junior. He come to me and say, Daddy, I want to be an actor. I want to do this. And I go put him in that shit. And he make $1 million off one commercial. He's a high value man now at 2 years old because he made $1 million.
So a 2-year-old is going to come to you and ask you to put him in a commercial.
I'm giving you an example. You see what the fuck I'm saying?
No, you got to use logic here.
A little further then. Okay, so we won't say 2-year-old. We'll say 3 because they could talk then. He pointed the screen and say, Daddy, I want to be an actor. And then I bring him to an audition. And he make $1 million off a commercial. That 3-year-old is a motherfucking high value man now because he made $1 million.
So is that more so a metric of
he's high
him or you? Because you are the one who are making the decisions. You are the one that's following up and putting the work behind ensuring that he gets the best for his potential. That's more of a metric of you than him. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess. However, where I'm at with it is like this. At the beginning of every statement that we said, you saw value. Somebody saw value, which goes back to my original principle. Value is only in the eye of the people. What people put value in. If we're talking about a high value man, as in a man that's going to be with a woman that's high value, of course, it wouldn't be a child or somebody who just started at McDonald's. But that doesn't mean they're not high value individuals. Doesn't mean that they don't have value. And you didn't say that. I'm not going to say that you did. high value has been taken out of context and moved into something totally different. It's not about the value in itself. It's more so about monetary value and what people think their life should look like versus what value really stands for. I would rather have somebody raise my children right and we be a mediocre in the middle ass family than somebody with $1 billion show my children that it's okay to beat women every motherfucking day. Okay? I'd rather have somebody that's high value. To me, high value would be he came home from work and he helped mommy, smacked on the ass, kissed on the face, and then, had movie night with us and then went downstairs and they chilled and we got a whole family and he's holding his family together. That's more valuable than somebody that got $1 billion that fucking bought you 5 houses and just happens to whoop your ass in front of your kids.
But see, here's the problem: is like nobody is saying that the money is the only. Like nobody's saying that.
I specifically said.
But what we've been trying to say to you over and over again is the fact that money is not the only metric, but it is part of it.
Okay.
You cannot exclude
that
win. Part from the value. It's not saying that it doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's not saying that it's the only metric.
All right.
And what we've been doing is
I fucking can't argue with that. That's
you
true.
said what?
I fucking tried. I can't argue with that. That's true. It does have, when it comes to being a high value man, not boy, not child, it definitely means that you have already had that time to walk through life. See, I proved myself wrong in my own thoughts while I was talking. And yeah, okay, it makes sense. It does have something to do with it. It is definitely something because you can't have stability without monetary value. So I get it. But it is minute compared to morals and values. That's all.
I mean, it's like anything else. You got good billionaires who do righteous things with money, and then you got George Soros. I mean, so it's like you have a spectrum that the money, of course, you can prove easily just by looking at the landscape, what people do with their money and where it goes and how it goes. And it's not the end all be all. And I think that sometimes we continue to mix that up to where we start over focusing on money. Like that's the only thing that matters. It's not. Money is not the only thing that matters. But where you weigh it in the spectrum of value, all I'm saying is that you can't have it without having money. You can't hit this tech mark. The guy at McDonald's, if he works 170 hours in 168 hour week, he's not a high producing, high earning nothing. Now, yes, he might be able to help out with rent. Yeah, he might be able to hold his own and pay for his own car or pay for himself through school or whatever it is that he's doing. But again, high usefulness and high value is something that's acquired over time. You don't just walk into it. The son of a wealthy person who inherits the fortune, they still got a walk that they got to go through in order to learn how to deal. But it's a spectrum. That just because I'm the son of a millionaire don't necessarily mean that the other people that are owed money are going to respect me the way that you respected my dad. You got to come up and you got to prove that you cut from that cloth too. That is the one thing I would like to just make that clear. And I think that we finally cracked some ground on that. What do you think, Midas?
I think both y'all made some valid points. I mean, I still think that my insert negative connotation here holds value, and y'all proved that over and over and over and over again. Well, Marvin is right. But Marvin
all I was saying is the blanket term. That's
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I think Marvin definitely touched on a very vital importance of morals, values, things of that nature. I mean that kind of is all inclusive when you're dealing with, I guess high value men in general, you would hope that this individual, would possess these key
Morals,
features.
integrity,
Yeah, you would hope that these things are already embedded in this person's being, that's who they are.
I mean,
Um,
even more so than that is like that's why I didn't want to spend a bunch of time delving off into high value, low value conversation because again, it's thousands of other platforms that delve deep
right,
off into this. So it's just like obviously, due to him being at work, he chimed in a little bit later on, and I think that obviously, like had he's like, hey, catch me up to speed, then there would have been stuff that would have been caught the first time. But at the end of the day, I don't negate the fact that a lot of these terms are subjective, but I don't think that high usefulness will ever be a low tier attribute. I don't think that somebody who has the means to produce or has the network to produce and create jobs, you're never going to tell me that Jeff Bezos is a low value dude.
I
But
mean,
then but
making
he's the
yourself.
highest.
Oh, go ahead.
But outside of the U.S. military, he creates the most jobs of any other company. You're not going to convince me that.
Even more than Walmart. I mean, which Walmart held that title for decades.
So at the end of the day, it's just like when we talk about value, that does not mean that people are not morally corrupted in some ways. That doesn't mean people don't have lust and perversions. That doesn't mean that people don't have things about them that we won't agree with. There are things about Elon Musk that I don't agree with. There are things about almost anybody with money
Right.
that I don't particularly agree with. But
I
that does
mean,
not
Andrew
negate.
Tate.
I mean, that
Andrew
doesn't
Tate, for
negate a person.
example.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't negate a person's usefulness. That
Right.
doesn't negate the fact that if I can get banned off of every social media site, but yet I somehow what I'm giving people is keeping me in the loop around the world and making me ever more popular. It's like it's nothing that I'm doing wrong. What it's doing is the fact that those people find value in what I produce, and then what they're finding value in exchange, they're keeping me relevant. To me, it's like it's a no-brainer that you can't have certain things without connecting. Even criminals at a certain degree is like to know how to do certain things or to be involved in certain activities. People that are in certain realms or certain people know each other. You think the billionaires don't know each other? I'm sure they do. It's only so many of them.
Right.
They might
It's a
not
small
all be.
circle. They all know each other.
They might not be friends or sit at yacht parties together, or whatever it is that they do. But there's traits that people who work hard, that produce heavily, that they have. And when we start talking about high value, all we're talking about is traits. We start talking about stagnant man or a man on the rise or no low value, low tier men. We're just talking about character traits. And that's all that I want anybody that's watching this. That's all I want you to focus on is that we're just talking about character traits. We're talking about what people produce and the results that come from what they produce. That are you a pariah that just takes and give nothing back, or are you somebody that your ideas turn into reality, and the reality is helping people feed their own families? It's night and day. We're just talking about character traits, and what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and I'll start going through this, and I'll start pinning out some of the cliff notes, and probably start chopping some of this video up and releasing it in little segments. And I just want anybody who's watching this, I want you to understand something that is like, this has nothing to do, in my opinion, with women. This has everything to do with where men rank themselves amongst other men. We know who works harder than us. We know who motivate us. We know who we want to stay far away from because they represent poorly. We know amongst ourselves who are higher echelon and who are lower tier. This is not a surprise to us. We have no problem not saying to myself that, yeah, I have some work to do. Without looking at it, I know I got some belly fat I need to work on. I know that I probably should have shaved for. No, I know me. I know what I need to improve on. I know when I'm lazy. I know when I'm working hard. I know when I'm knocking it out the park, and you can see it in my behavior. You can see it in my posture when I sit up. You can see it in the way a person smiles. You can see it in the way a person shakes hands. There's always ways and metrics of knowing how comfortable somebody is with who they are and the value that they produce. Go walk into a situation and, hey, what's that? That's pretty cool. Have you ever thought about doing such and such with that? Hey, let me see if I can help you with that. And there's other people, he think he all that badmouth you while you trying to find your bearings. So yeah, we're just talking about character traits. Midas?
And I wanted to keep it on that level. I know that financials came up, but financials more so only came up more in a high value simply because, like you said, it's a tool of measurement as a qualifier to be that high value man. Everything else simply was just based on characteristics, or at least that's where we wanted to keep the conversation, was based on more characteristics. Another thing that I wanted to add, and I think that is very important that we miss for a man on the rise, is a man on the rise. And this is only for the one that isn't already in his craft, making money off his craft. But this is for somebody that's working a regular W-2 and then still trying to pursue their craft. Is after you're done working your 8-12 hours at work, then you put in another 8-12 hours into your own craft to build you up. And I think a man on the rise, which can also excuse me, which can kind of also slide into high value. This is a very keen characteristic to becoming the high value and staying high value.
Well, it's like I had mentioned earlier about how you have those that, late nights, early mornings, early risers. They get up, they're trying to find out what's going on. They get whatever it is that they need to do. It's like you'll work this much time and then you'll take this much additional time to go and chip away at that thing that you're trying to do, whether you're spending time researching and making phone calls, networking, building, going to these meetings and seminars. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, not like you said, just get off work, come home, kick your feet up, drink a beer. Like that's mediocre.
Hey, Marv, you speaking? I'm trying to make sure you're not frozen down there. All right, hour and 52 minutes in. I think we're going to go ahead and close this one out. So any questions, any thoughts, comments, concerns from the audience? Also, Midas, if you got any closeout statements that you want to add, by all means, this would be the time.
I mean, I honestly think that, man, we touched on a lot of different things and really broke down, I think, are key definitions that I think can really help a lot of men out there to really understand. Of course, you don't have to use like our definitions and what we think. You don't have to use that as Bible, but I think it's a great starting place for you to be able to start to develop and hone yourself and to really start to open your mind and start to exercise your brain to start moving in the direction that you want to go and to accomplish the goals that you want to do and to really understand that, yes, there is a ranking system amongst men as to where you stand. And whether you want to participate in that ranking or not, that's up to you. How you want to live your life when you wake up, and not to be so cliche, but are you proud of the man that you see in the mirror every day?
Yes, sir.
But then also on top of that is like what you want out of life is going to be associated with the work that you put in. It's like, to a point that Marvin made earlier, and this is part that kind of ties into women and lifestyle and stuff like that. The better, or what you perceive to be better, what you want comes with a cost. And with that cost, you have to understand that if you want these things and you want these things to become available to you, there's a certain amount of work that has to go into getting them.
You know what? And that, you know what? I don't know when my shit going. I tried to join. I don't know if y'all seen it. I tried to join from the laptop, and it was joining, and then the phone came on, and it said unresponsive. I had to switch it back. But
I saw that we were trying to find out. I was speaking to you, and it's like it was glitching down there.
yeah, I couldn't hear anything. But I'm figuring it all out. But what I will say is this, and I got this from an Andrew Tate thing, and also just from life. Period. Like, value is equated to difficulty. Women are considered hoes if they go out fucking and doing all of this and fucking a bunch of dudes because it's easy for women to get sex. It's very easy. They just walk out and be like, yo, this pussy is here for free right now. What's up? And they can get sex. You walk outside and be like, yo, this dick for free right now. Right now. Every bitch in the world will be like, no, sir. Because something wrong because of this, whatever reason. It's not easy for dudes to get it. Therefore, when dudes, like, hey, Goldie said it best. If you got a key that can unlock many locks, you call it a master key. If you have a lock that is unlocked by just any key, you got a shitty lock. See, value is equated with difficulty. If you got a 6-pack and you rip to shreds and all of this shit, you're going to get praised by women about how beautiful, how much they love that shit because that shit ain't easy to get. You got to be in the gym every fucking day. And it's
Have some
supposed to be
discipline with diet and exercise, and
right. And that's difficulty. See, getting $1 million is supposed to be difficult. And that's what makes it so valuable, you know, and the fact that there's only 850 millionaires and 300 billionaires in the United States, and they all think they're gonna get one. See, difficulty is what makes it that. That's why that dude at McDonald's, his job is more difficult than mine. His job is harder than half of the people in the world. But he's gonna get minimum wage. And you're going to learn, and that shows us value because we see the value in the work. However, it doesn't show the world value in a monetary sense, but we see what it could be, which is potential, like you said.
There are 22 million millionaires in the U.S., approximately 8% of the population.
Okay, whatever. I just
by the way.
I mean, that does make sense. How many billionaires? Go ahead.
I get it. I know it's vastly less.
Yeah, it's about 300, but go ahead. I mean,
I got a question.
Millionaires, I was just throwing a number out there for millionaires. And regardless of how many the number is, it is, you said 8%. That means out of 100 professional individuals you meet, you're going to get, come on, man.
And there are 614 billionaires in the U.S.
And that includes your CEOs and all of that because 99% of CEOs don't make $1 million. Oh, we didn't realize that, but that's facts. 99% don't make that.
I got a question.
Actually, 90% make less than 100,000. That's crazy.
You said that the guy at McDonald's, I know, man. You said the guy at McDonald's has a very extremely hard job, and I want to know how does the worker at McDonald's job, and it's not to bomb on the McDonald's worker at all. I want my McFlurry and all that ready to go. And somebody there to make it when I pull up in the line, but
other people.
What makes his job difficult versus you having to sit down in these conferences and trying to lock in these contracts to make sure that you're giving jobs to the people in the city of Chicago? How is that more difficult? And not only capture the contract, but you have to make sure that they can be executed to the T.
Okay, I'm going to explain it to you. I think harder, not more important, not more difficult, harder. Their job is harder because, like you just said, I want my motherfucking McFlurry So does every other human on earth, including bums, including losers, including motherfuckers that don't have good intention, including motherfuckers that don't have good attitudes, including mental disease people, all of that. So he go up there every day and he's going to take 500 orders in a day. When he does, out of them taking them orders and doing all of that, first off, repetitious work is not, they may say it's easy, whatever. That shit is nerve-wracking. On top of that, how many burgers get thrown at his face a day? They wouldn't dare disrespect me. I don't play like that. They know they come in here talking crazy. They'll never work in the city of Chicago again. I can sit up here and do whatever the fuck. It's a difference. He go to work every day for minimum wage, knowing that he's going to be disrespected, that they're going to spit at him. They're going to do all of this shit. And he got to deal with that shit. He don't have a choice. I do. Soon as they get disrespectful with me, hey, you can get up out of my office or we're going to remove you from my office. No matter what happens here, you'll go to jail. I'm going to go home and talk about it. No matter what goes on here, I'm going to take... Now, my job is very hard. There's a lot of things and a lot of stresses that come with it, but I'm not getting spit at. I don't have niggas coming in there talking about I got their order wrong when I know I got it right because they trying to play me for some extra money because they know I'm a cashier. I'm not worried. Ain't nothing going to happen to them if they do all that. They deal with that. And I give people jobs. I'm telling you what I know. Sitting there just when I gave the youth jobs at Wendy's, I gave the youth jobs at Wendy's through the city. It was a bunch of them. And just the stories that came from that. Them getting shot at, people, goddamn it, swelling up and acting crazy just over their food. And we done all had an argument at a drive-thru. So nobody's going to sit here and say, oh, that's not true. It's sweet as cake. They got lives too. They sit there, they go there. They know they working for minimum wage. They know they at a minimum wage, goddamn it, fast food place. They know what they got going on. And then here you come up in there talking about I got your order wrong. Okay, sir, I apologize. I'm going to try to fix it. No, fuck you. You need to fix it right now. This shit is all over social media. They got to deal with that. And they do it. Why? Because they need that money and they're trying to build something. And they go through that. That's a lot harder than what me, you, or anybody got to deal with on a daily basis. Every single day, somebody spitting on you. Somebody, goddamn it, got a cuss out. Somebody acting crazy. Yeah. Why? Because fast food is something that everyone can afford, even the bums. If they beg for 5 minutes, they'll have enough money to go get a double cheeseburger. Hit the dollar menu. You're going to get all of the drunks. You're going to get all of the assholes. You're going to get all the dangerous people, too. They come up in there. How many times motherfucker went to White Castle after they left the club? Get into it with them. And think it's cute, arguing with the business. And them niggas behind the fucking register, all the people behind the register like, dude, I'm just trying to fucking go home. I'm trying to make this money so I can build my dream and go to fuck home. And you sitting here arguing with me about this. Yeah, to the point where they fighting, where you got jail threatened, because in that position, customer's always right. So if the customer walk up in there talking crazy and do something and you react to it, no matter how right you was, you getting fired. You got that kind of pressure over your head. You're getting fired. That's cool? No, it's not. That's what I mean by they job harder than all our shit. We'll sit here and do this. We built this. Yeah, we went through that. Like I said, I was a dishwasher at McDuffers. I went through a whole lot of them, especially I used to get it with the tops of the fucking packages, you know, when they give you the ketchup package and you squeeze it out. And they want to be disrespectful and they push it all over the table. You got to do that. You coming home late at night like you work a office job late night or something. But in all actuality, you here at this establishment. So they go through a whole lot of shit.
So what's the stats? So what's the stats on that? And where is this mainly happening?
Okay, the stats, that will be, I'm actually going to look it up now. I've never even looked into the stats on how disrespectful people are at the windows. But what I do know is that There ain't one fast food worker that ever worked in the history of the world that you can ask that'll say that they ain't had a disrespectful altercation. There ain't one that you could say, hey, this shit was easy when they had a drive-through of 50 people during lunchtime and they were all trying to put sandwiches together. Shit ain't easy.
There you go. I just posted it.
It's not fucking easy.
There's all the information that you need right there.
All of them right, and if you get one wrong, he gonna pull around with all 5 of his kids, 6 of his kids, and cuss your ass out, even though it was an honest mistake. Yeah, that shit not easy.
I think anybody having to deal with that is definitely bogus. Not right at all. The reason I was asking, sorry about man. The reason I was asking is because, you know, I worked at Al's Beef. I've worked at, I was a store manager at Pizza Hut. I've worked at Jamba Juice. I've worked at Big Bull. I've been in that industry.
Say at Pizza Hut, you didn't have no issues. That your workers didn't have issues every day. Tell me they didn't.
Well, I was the store manager. No, nobody reported anything to me like that.
So you mean to tell me you worked at a Pizza Hut that nobody had an issue with their order? Nobody had an issue with
well, yeah, but as far as spitting and all that, no.
Cashiers, nobody told your cashiers they got it wrong and they came back up to the register and you had to deal with it, right?
Yeah, I had to deal with it, yeah.
Right. That you dealt with it as a manager, they have to deal with it as a staff. Meaning they're the ones who hear the first part you don't hear. They come report it to you. The first part when they start talking shit, you don't hear that shit. I got called trash the other day. Literally, a nigga called me trash the other day. I mean, when they left out my office, they was apologizing, saying they thought it was something different and woo. However, yeah, them frontline workers have to deal with all that shit. And that's your 16-year-old that they hire up there. See, it's supposed to teach him how to grow and how to brush stuff off and how to become hard body in a sense of, you know what people mean when they say and blah, blah, blah. It's supposed to teach them that over time. But now with the economy, you have grown-ups. Grown motherfucking people are taking these jobs because that's all that's available. You got grown-ups taking jobs as little kids. The little teenagers' jobs. The dishwashers now be old men and shit. And you like, how? That was a 16-year-old job. So now that old man got to sit there and get disrespected like they did.
So for the sake of the conversation, obviously I know it kind of turned off, but we've been on for over 2 hours, so we're trying to close it out.
It is 9 o'clock, and I'm still at my office, and then I got to go home.
So on the subject, do you have any last words that you want to add in so that we can go ahead and close it out?
I apologize that I was late, y'all. I fuck with y'all 100%. Us. Fuck with us 100% because this is a us-ass movement. And this conversation was, the parts I caught was 100%. I'm going to go back and watch the rest of it to see everything. I really wish I could have kicked in more through the whole thing. High value men are readily available. They try to act like we're so slim. It's black men that's the problem and all of this. However, men are getting married more so. Well, in our culture, men are getting more married than women are. And women are dying 80% alone. We'll get in that next meeting. But here is that group is readily available. Your average black man is single and supporting himself. The things that are glorified as far as people living with their mama and all things that everybody know about and live with are things that are not the vast majority. High value men are striving in existence, and we are all here. It's just the value that people see versus the value that's real skews the results of society. And that's where I'm at with it.
All right, so thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of Extraordinary Men. We encourage you guys to subscribe to the various channels that we have. I'll make sure I get a full social media listing of everybody. And there'll be a website coming very soon for the Extraordinary Man to go over various things that we talk about and various resources that we have available to try to help you get yourselves in order if there's things that you need. And I definitely appreciate those who stuck around with us. I know it got a little long-winded at parts, but that's what happens when men talk. It's like being at the barbershop, and this is the safe space that men can come discuss things that go on with us, discuss things that are on our hearts that we want to go ahead and try to share with the world. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave messages, share the content with others that you think could benefit from the content. And that's it. Midas?
Yes, please like, share, subscribe, especially if you felt that you gained a lot of insight from today's podcast. Please make sure that you go to the Facebook group Extraordinary Men, tap in with us, because we're also going to be posting things there daily. The link to the podcast that happens every Tuesday, 7 p.m. CST, 8 p.m. EST. That's where the link is going to be. So if you want to tap in and you want to make sure that you on top of everything that we got going on, please tap into the Extraordinary Men Facebook group. Also, make sure you tap into our clubhouse. Again, we have a whole entire year. We have a whole entire year of content that you can just listen to every single day. You know what I'm saying? And gain a whole lot of information as far as crypto, as far as marriage, trying to figure out what type of career you want to do, to taxes, credit, you name it. You know what I'm saying? All types of conversations are there. So please tap into the clubhouse, Extraordinary Men Clubhouse, and start gaining all that content. Also, make sure that you go to philjonesclothing.com. Make sure you grab a shirt and show support. Please pull the website up, Mike. Make sure you follow all of our handles. Phil Jones 1986. Please make sure that you follow there. If you're interested in following me, you can follow me on my Twitter at Nerdy Nerds, official Nerdy Nerds LLC. That's Nerdy Nerds spelled with a Z. Boom. So I do shop at Phil Jones Clothing. This is where you can get your Extraordinary Man shirt. So please show your support and grab an Extraordinary Man shirt. Look at that. There it is. So please tap in. All right.
All right, so thank you guys again for showing up. I'll make sure all the links to Nerdy Shirty, to Nerdy Nerds website is available. Make sure that everything is available for you guys, and the excerpts from the pod today. Make sure that all of those things will be made available to you guys. And again, thank you. You can be doing anything else with your Tuesday night, but you decided to spend it with us, and we have a great deal of gratitude for it. Peace.